Community in action. Here's Arlene Selman.
Good afternoon and welcome to your Community in Action here at WVOX 1460 on your AM dial and WVOX.com wherever you are in the entire world. As long as you have access to a computer, that is. You can't just wish it to be. You have to have access to a computer or to the radio because we're also on 1460 AM. So, that being said, I say thank you to Bill O'Shaughnessy, who's the head of WVOX, for giving us this airtime. Thank you to our master engineer, Alex, for letting us be heard by you. And guess what? If you want to call with a question or a comment, you can call 914-636-0110, and then we'll be able to hear you too if you have any questions, comments, or experiences you'd like to share. I am very, very pleased today to have a very special guest, and I'm looking across at her, and that beautiful smile on her face could light up a room, and that's Paula Santadonato. She is a licensed social worker, and she is the Director of Youth Services for the Westchester Jewish Community Services. And she is a dynamo. She has a lot of responsibilities and a lot of energy and a smile that lights up the room. So when she's working with the youth, they can't help but feel better. So welcome to Paula.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
It's truly a pleasure. So just give our listeners, I've had Westchester Jewish Community Services on the show before, but there are always new listeners, so just give a brief background about WJCS.
Sure. WJCS, or Westchester Jewish Community Services, as we like to say, is a comprehensive human service organization that helps people of all ages and backgrounds overcome emotional, social, educational, vocational, disability, and spiritual challenges so they can lead lives with strength, resilience, and confidence. WJCS is one of the largest human service agencies in Westchester County. We serve over 20,000 individuals a year. We have over 88 programs.
Over 88 programs. That's
over 88
substantial,
programs,
I would say.
Yes.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's a very large organization, and we are here to help.
You know, it has such a fabulous reputation. I've had WJCS on my show over the course of the years a number of times, talking to different department heads and talking about different programs and services. And I am never surprised because I'm awed, continually awed. So I would be surprised if I wasn't awed. Does that make any sense?
Yes, thank you.
I am truly awed by all the work that this organization does and by the people who work there, because every one of you is committed to his or her job and to making sure that the people out there are being helped to the very best of your abilities. Nobody seems to say, oh, that's too much, or no, we can't do that. It's usually, well, we'll find a way to help.
Yes.
We'll find something to do to make this go away or to make this better.
Yes, thank you. I think that's true. WJCS really does have a group of very dedicated employees, and you have to love to do this work, you know, in a variety of ways. Myself, I've been at the agency nearly 22 years. So
how could that be? You started when you were 2 years old?
I started when I was 2, thank you. But it's, and I will just throw in there that this is my second career. So there are, I like to say, a lot of long timers at WJCS, where people who are very committed to the work. We derive a great amount of joy from what we do. And I think anyone in this field, you're dedicated to help and support people. That's what it comes down to. You really are. Mm-hmm. It is often a labor of love and a dedication and a belief that you can provide support and help to individuals.
It absolutely is a labor of love, and I know that from having spoken to you and having spoken to a number of other people who work there. And there is also something in the water you drink, because every one of you looks much younger than you should look after having worked there for so many years. You look like a teenager yourself. And here you are.
I don't feel that way when I'm looking at my face on Zoom.
Well, then don't look.
Blank out the screen. Yes.
Yeah. No, seriously, whoever works for this organization always seems to be smiling, always seems to be enjoying himself or herself, and so proud to be where you are. And I just, in the short time speaking to you before the show began, I got that same feeling from you. So proud of this organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are. We're proud of the organization. We're proud of the work we do. And again, I think each and every one of us are dedicated. And if, like you said before in your introduction, if there's a new program, if there's a new initiative, we kind of just take it on. We're like, yep, let's do it. If that's going to help the people we serve, let's do it.
Now, you have a very important job because you are dealing with the future of our country. You're dealing with the youth. The youth, that's not an easy population. Under the most normal of circumstances, it's not the easiest population because they're going through the first set of changes. We go through our changes when we get older, but they're going through their first set of changes from being children to being adults. And they're dealing with all kinds of issues and all kinds of pulls at them, which oftentimes causes emotional distress.
Yes. Yes.
And how do you deal with that?
Well, we have a variety of programs. Obviously, we have our clinics, and we see an enormous number of people there. But in the youth programs, what I like to say is I sit in the Children, Youth, and Family Division of Wjcs, which is primarily youth-based, community-based programs. And while, unfortunately, I don't do direct service anymore, I supervise programs that are providing direct service to youth. And so I'll just quickly name some of the programs. One of the programs is Young People Achieve, which is a supportive program for pregnant and parenting teens. I like to say that's where I grew up at WJCS. It was my first job. And then we have a Peer Impact Program, which is a youth development program, a supportive program for teens in high schools. Center Lane is a community-based program serving LGBTQ plus youth. And those are and of course, what I hope we're here to talk about today, the Mental Health First Aid Initiative, which is a program for everyone, adults, youth, teens, and that we can go into more detail in a minute.
Well, yes, absolutely. I really think that that's an important topic because sometimes life is not easy. Okay. Sometimes life is hard, and sometimes a little Band-Aid doesn't do it. You have to do a lot more. Sometimes you need a whole first aid kit. And that's what your organization is all about. You help all ages and backgrounds, and you help them to meet the challenges of life. Life isn't always easy, and it's nice to know that there is an organization like WJCS out there to make us all navigate life's personal problems better. And I'd like to hear a little bit more about what is mental health first aid.
Well, mental health first aid is I love this program. Mental health first aid is a community-based education training that is skill-based and teaches individuals in the community how to identify, understand, and respond to various mental health and substance use challenges and crises in other adults, youth, and for teens, for their peers. Participants are trained to learn how to support others while destigmatizing mental illness and guiding people to treatment. And that's the most important thing. We're guiding people to treatment. it is really beneficial because I like to think of it as creating communities of support. We all have challenges. Some of them could rise to the occasion of being a mental health challenge. And this really is teaching people how to help and support one another.
Now, how do you identify? We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to answer that question. How do you identify those who need your help? So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because we will be right back here at WVOX 1460 on your AM dial and WVOX.com. If you have someone who you think would be interested in learning more, call them up now, quick, during the break, and tell them to tune in, 1460 AM. Okay? Don't go away. We'll be right back. Alex, take it away.
WVOX. Once again, your community in action on 1460 WVOX with Arlene Selman, former Westchester Director of the National Cancer Society and the Arthritis Foundation. Once again, here's Arlene Selman.
Welcome back to your community in action here at WVOX 1460 AM and WVOX.com. Wherever you are, you can listen, you can look, you can learn. And if you have a question or a story you'd like to share, you can call us at 914-636-0110. And Alex, our engineer, who's making sure that you hear us, will also make sure that we hear you should you call. So, we are talking today with Paula Santadonato, who is a licensed social worker, and she heads up the youth services at Westchester Jewish Community Services. She is the Director of Youth Services. And I want to just give you their address in case you decide you want to make a donation and want to send that in. They are always looking for that to help them continue their services. So it's Westchester Jewish Community Services, 845 North Broadway, White Plains, New York, 10603. The phone number to call there if you want to get some information is 761-0600. Paul, if they want to get you directly, what's your extension?
My extension is 2322.
2322 is Paula's direct extension, and she'll be happy to help you because she's a very caring and giving person. Otherwise, she wouldn't have taken this very, very heavy-duty job. And it's definitely heart-wrenching sometimes because you deal with people who often have nowhere to turn. They don't know where to turn, and they're so to speak at the end of their rope. They don't know what to do, and someone refers them to you, or they hear about it, or somehow or other they get to you. And how do you help these people who are in need of feeling good again?
Well, through this, we have our clinics for those people who directly need direct service. But the trainings, the beauty of the trainings is that it is for everyone. Everyone can be trained in mental health first aid. And that's why, I love it because it prepares people. It gives them skills that they can support others and themselves or relatives or their children. Mm-hmm. Anyone, you name it, they can support
often
these
by helping
people.
Someone else, you're helping yourself.
And you're helping yourself with that knowledge. But you can support people who are either developing a mental health disorder, has a mental health challenge, or is in crisis. And so the beauty of it is that it gives you skills. And when I do the training, I am a certified mental health first aid trainer, which is for the adults serving adults. Mm-hmm. I'm a certified youth mental health first aid trainer, which is for adults serving youth. And most recently, which I'm very excited about, a teen mental health first aid trainer. So this prepares people. When I do the training, I often say, folks, This is really not rocket science. These are skills that you have. We're just helping you enhance those skills and for you to feel more comfortable in your ability to support someone. We often say, like if you had a friend who was suffering from a medical condition, you probably would not hesitate to reach out and talk to the person, see what you could do, how you can help that person. But there's such a stigmatization around mental illness.
Isn't there, though?
That people don't know how to approach someone. If you found out that someone had major depressive disorder, you might want to just ignore it or walk away or not think of how to help. Well, this training gives you the skills of how to, and the confidence of how to help and support that person. It doesn't teach you, and we say this all the time, it doesn't teach you how to diagnose. You're not coming out, you are not a mental health professional.
Right.
It teaches you how you can support
How you could
individual.
be a positive factor, a positive influence.
Exactly. And how you can help them get to professional help. And that's very important.
And you know what? When someone is suffering, even if it's not just a physical, even if it's not a physical suffering, but if it's an emotional suffering, if someone is suffering, they tend to feel all alone in the world. But when you step forward and say, look, I know things don't seem so good right now. I'm here to help. What can I do to help you? Matter of fact, there is a place I know that might offer you some help. Let's investigate, okay? Do you know, just that one little action that you've taken can make the person already feel better because they know that they're not alone in the world. And loneliness is, I think, the biggest factor when you're not feeling well physically or emotionally.
Yep. Are you sure you didn't take the class?
I did. I took it on the side, but I didn't tell you.
Okay. Yes, exactly. It's that basic skill. It's how are you doing? It's how you feel you can approach someone, respect them. I always very big on respecting an individual.
And don't tell someone to get over it.
Right, exactly.
Oh, I've heard that. I've heard people talking to someone saying, now get over it.
Right.
They would if they could.
Snap out of it.
Snap out of it.
If they could. And you said something very important is one of the things we talk about in Mental Health First Aid is you can be the difference. You
make
can
a difference
make
if you
a
want
difference,
to.
and you can be the difference. And when we train adults to support youth, we talk a lot about positive assets and what, you can build positive assets and how we can lessen negative assets, if you will. But I always say the one most important positive aspect, and I'm generally teaching staff and school personnel, is you. Research shows that one caring adult can make the difference in an individual, in a youth's life. So the training helps people feel secure and confident in their ability to support people.
When we come back, I would like you to give all the information to our listeners about how they can become that caring, giving person. We're going to be right back here at WVOX 1460 AM and WVOX.com. We are talking today with Paula Santa Donato, who is a licensed social worker, and she's the director of youth services for the Westchester Jewish Community Services. And it's a wonderful, wonderful organization. I want you to hear all about it, so don't go away. We'll be right back here at WVOX 1460 AM. Stay tuned. Thank you, Alex.
1460 WVOX.
Once again, your community in action on 1460 WVOX with Arlene Selman, former Westchester Director of the National Cancer Society and the Arthritis Foundation. Once again, here's Arlene Selman.
Welcome back. to your Community in Action here at WVOX 1460 on your AM dial and WVOX.com, wherever you are in the entire world. Now, I know we had a caller who called in during the break who said, you have to give us the address and phone number because I didn't get to write it down. And I said, I'm sorry, so here it is. It's Westchester Jewish Community Services, 845 North Broadway, White Plains, New York, 10603. That's the address. And the phone number is 914-761-0600. That's 761-0600, 914. We are talking today with Paula Santadonato, who is the Director of Youth Services for the Westchester Jewish Community Services. And she heads up some absolutely fabulous programs to help the youth, who are the adults of our future, to stay emotionally healthy during these trying times. So now, where were we?
Where were we?
Yeah, okay, so we were talking.
I can tell you a little bit more about mental health first aid and all the iterations.
Okay.
Mental health first aid was developed originally in Australia. A couple was very concerned about the rising rates of mental illness and also the stigmatization around mental illness and how to help them and how to help individuals, but more importantly, how, as I would love to say, how to create communities of support for everyone. And they came up with this mental health first aid model, which is very much modeled off first aid, right? Yeah, it's if you call an ambulance and the EMT comes, they're not doctors, right? They're helping
they're there
and
to
supporting
ease your pain until you get
until you get to get to the hospital.
Right.
So similarly, mental health first aid is exactly that. It's helping you. It's a 5-step process that 5-step action plan, actually, that helps you get an individual to professional help if necessary. Then fairly quickly after that, they developed youth mental health first aid, which, as I said before, it is for adults who serve youth or interact with youth or support youth. So again, it can be teachers, parents, aunts, uncles, anyone in the community, coaches. And that, again, teaches it's a same 5-step action plan, and that is helping people have the confidence to help youth, which is very much needed. And then most recently, they have developed a teen mental health first aid, and that is for teens supporting teens. And that we teach in schools, in classrooms. It's a 6 45-minute sessions in classrooms. And what the research has shown is that teens often go first to their peers for help and support. And often teens don't know what to do, or they feel overwhelmed by that. So this is helping them, giving them the tools that they can support a friend and again get them to professional help.
And in so doing, they're helping themselves as well.
Exactly. We teach them about mental health and how they can help themselves and then how they can help each other.
That's such an important program because I remember being a teenager about 3,000 years ago, but I do remember that's a difficult time. People tend to forget that they were teenagers once, and those are trying years.
Extraordinarily so.
And things that you let slide when you're a full-fledged adult sometimes boggle you down when you're a teenager, and sometimes you feel alone. But when you have friends who understand, it's wonderful because they help you. But sometimes you don't want your friends to know. So here is a program where the teens are learning how to identify and how to care for and what to say to those friends who are in need.
Absolutely. All the programs talk about warning signs. All the programs talk about what to look out for. And I think that that's very important. Again, when I teach this, facilitate this curriculum, I always say, do not underestimate the power of observation. And observation can tell you a lot. We can see, right? And we can then open up the door to a conversation. When you talk about youth, Arlene, the thing that is most disturbing is that suicide rates among children have increased significantly. And this is the sad part. Children aged 5 to 11, it has increased nearly 15% from 2012 to 2017. When I started teaching youth mental health first aid over 6 years ago, we used to say that the suicides was the third highest cause of deaths in teenagers. It is now the second leading cause of death in teenagers. Our teenagers need our help and support. The other side of the coin is also what we teach in the class, is that recovery is possible, resiliency, we can help build resiliency, and not all teenagers suffer. Most teenagers navigate adolescence effectively if they have the proper support.
Right.
So I don't want to be a doomsayer
here.
No, but the statistics and the research shows that we really have to address this issue and learn how to support.
You can't shove it under the rug.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're going to have major problems.
Exactly.
You have to lift up that rug, pull it out, and deal with it.
Exactly.
Be graphic.
And I think this training helps people do that. Again, it helps people recognize the warning signs, what they're seeing, how to help, and I think that that's very, very, very important.
And sometimes it even helps the helper to not develop those things that might cause the helper to become depressed himself or herself, and to be needing the support and counsel that he or she is giving.
Yes, it does. I mean, we don't want to self-diagnose ever, and we don't.
No, but the point is that when you help someone else, oftentimes you're helping yourself.
Right. Exactly. And then especially coming out of, or I don't know if we are.
I think we are going into another break.
Okay.
I hear the music in the background. You know, I hear music and there's no one there. Well, I hear music and there is someone there, and it's Alex behind the glass. And I turned down my sound a little bit so that I wasn't hearing it. But now I am, so we're going to take another break. And we'll be back after these few words. So don't go away. We're talking today Westchester Jewish Community Services, Paula Santa-Donato, who is the head of Youth Services. And
1460 WVOX.
Once again, your community in action on 1460 WVOX with Arlene Salmon, former Westchester Director of the National Cancer Society and the Arthritis Foundation. Once again, here's Arlene Salmon.
Welcome back to your Community in Action here at WVOX 1460 AM and WVOX.com. Our special guest today is Paula Santa-Donato, who's the Director of Youth Services for Westchester Jewish Community Services. And we're talking about youth, obviously. We're talking about young people and their emotional and mental well-being and the programs that WJCS is offering to help navigate these troubled years, because you don't just fly through your teen years usually very easily, but some of us have a more difficult time than others, and that's why it's really important that there are services such as Westchester Jewish Community Services with programs such as their youth initiative to help navigate those years. So welcome back, Paula.
Thank you.
And let's continue our discussion here at WVOX. You were saying that the youth have all these programs that they could avail themselves of. And that's so important because years ago, I think people would just flounder. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to get help. And if they had a friend who was having difficulties, they didn't know how to give help. But your programs are doing both of those things. You're telling people how they can get help and how they could be a good friend and give help.
Yes, the new teen mental health first aid is that model, right? So they can support a friend effectively and how they can help guide that friend to the appropriate professional help. That actually is sponsored by Lady Gaga's Born This Way Foundation. She's very invested in this program, which is lovely. And so it's important. We're actually doing the program for the first time at Elmsford School District. We're very happy about that. And we're going to be doing it in other districts throughout the county. So we're very excited to be launching this initiative at WJCS. And we are thrilled that many teens will now have the tools they need to support one another. Because teens want to help each other.
Absolutely.
They want to help each other. And that's the most important thing.
You know, even full-blown adults, when they see a friend suffering, they want to help, and they don't always know how they can help. And it's very difficult, but an organization like Westchester Jewish Community Services has programs for all ages.
Absolutely.
Today we're focusing more on the youth because it's been basically an ignored population until recently. Not ignored by you, but ignored just in general terms. People talk about adults who have emotional needs and emotional problems and services and where they can go to get psychiatric help and social work help and someone come to the home, et cetera, et cetera. But you don't hear that often about how the youth are being helped and how they're often being helped now by their own peers. And it's very important, I think, that the peers are being trained, because by being trained to help their friends and classmates, it's also helping them be healthier themselves.
Yes, we talk a lot about also mental health, mental well-being, and that's important. You know, how can teens, what do they need to do or hopefully be supported to do so that they can have communities of support, and what they can do to have self-care, self-love, those kinds of things, and how they can support each other. So that's where I think that's very, very important. And as you know, the pandemic really affected our youth greatly.
Oh, sure.
It affected everyone, that much we know. But it really affected our youth that they weren't in school. They couldn't see their peers. There was the stress related to not receiving a great education in that time. And depression and anxiety went up. And that was concerning for everyone. And so I think this teen mental health first aid will be very important for school districts to take on.
Absolutely. You know, we can't look away. We
Absolutely.
have to look at the situation. It's easy to say, well, this too shall pass. This is a rough time, and everybody's going through a rough time, and all the people who are out of work, or the people who are afraid to go to work, and a lot of people are just wanting to look away and deny that this is a difficult period of time. But now, if you're looking at the young people, the young teens and the full-blown teens, and all of the hormonal changes that have gone on in their lives, and the school has changed, and their whole world has changed, and they are suffering. And we can't deny the fact that they're suffering. And they may not be at a point of no return, but they certainly do need some counseling and some guidance and some hand-holding and some back-rubbing,
Yes.
if you will, some I understand words coming from other people, because it's easy to feel all alone. It's very easy.
Yes.
But
Isolation, and especially isolation through the pandemic, was a major, major concern. And it did had a backlash, again, where we know that anxiety and depression rates went up. So the good news is that teens are back. Most school, I mean, I don't know of any schools that are remote at this point in time. And teens and youth are back to seeing one another, being with one another, socializing, and being under the watchful eye of supportive adults.
And that's important.
And that is very
The
important.
adults cannot walk away.
They can't
You
walk away.
can't say, well, they're being helped by the Westchester Jewish Community Services youth group, so I don't have to worry about it. No, you do have to worry about it. You're still the parent.
Well, again, this training does provide the tools for everyone to have the skills to help youth.
So this program has now been in operation for how long?
Well, this is a nationally recognized program, so we are not the only ones doing it,
right.
And
But you're running with it, so that's important.
We're running with it, right. As I said before, it was developed in Australia. We brought it, the county brought it, when I say Westchester County brought it around 2000, I want to say 2012 or 13, and Wjcs started it then, 2013.
So it's been around.
It's been around. We started initially with the youth program, youth mental health first aid, and then we have trained staff to be adult mental health first aid certified trainers, and then within the last year we've embraced teen mental health first aid. So it has been around a long time. It's what we call in our world evidence-based.
Right.
And we, as a trainer, I would say I have seen a transformative, it has been transformative for individuals. I have done some trainings that are so powerful that watching the participants engage and be invested in learning this. They want to help each other.
Of course they do.
They want to help whoever it is, their colleague, their coworker, their child. It is reinforcing.
People create positive endorphins, those positive
Yes.
hormones, when they're helping other people, when they
Absolutely.
feel good about what they're doing. So people do want to help. And if somebody wants to get involved, all they have to do is call Westchester Jewish Community Services, 914-761-0600, and ask for you.
Ask for me. Yes, I think people know me.
And if they want to send a donation, of course, you're always welcoming
We
donations.
are always welcoming
Made out
donations.
to Westchester Jewish Community Services and sent to 845 North Broadway, White Plains, New York, 10603. Go online. You can learn more about WJCS. It's not just about the teens. It's all ages.
We serve 0 to actually end of life. We have
0 to end of life at
Yes.
WJCS.com. You can get all the information you need. And I think that it's an organization that does have something for everyone, whether you want to be a volunteer,
Yes.
whether you want to be a donor,
Yes.
whether you need help, whether you want to offer to give help, whether you want to train or be trained.
Yes, we are a huge resource for services.
And I can't believe our hour is up because I hear the music in the background, which tells me that because I'm so smart. I hear music. I hear music. Thank you so very much for being
Thank
with
you
us
so much
today.
for having me.
And it's a pleasure to see you and a pleasure to have you on the show. And don't forget, everybody, continue. 761-0600 is the number to call, 914 that is. To send a check, Westchester Jewish Community Services, 845 North Broadway, White Plains, 10603. Thank you, Alex, for getting us the space on the air. And thank you to VOX for donating the time. Stay tuned, everybody, for the next show. Don't go away.